I don't know. It could be one of them weeks, man. Just could be one of them weeks, Eddie. Let's start with Billy Joe Saunders. He's had a lot to say about Eddie favouring Canelo over him in their upcoming fight. First of all, he said Eddie stitched him with the purse. Now, it looks like he's backtracked on that. He's now saying Canelo stiffed him on his purse, which was contingent on whether there was a crowd there. Although Canelo's last 2 fights, he's had crowds. Not maximum crowds, but he's had crowds. Maybe Billy should talk to Daniel Kinahan and his management. And as for the purse, Eddie's got receipts. And MTK Global have the same receipts. We're talking about the judges now. He's got receipts. Before the AT&T site was mentioned and chosen as the site for the fight, Hearn said he wanted 1 British judge, 1 Mexican, and 1 neutral judge. The Texas Combative Sports Program will ultimately decide who's going to judge. And they've decided 3 neutral judges, which means no Mexican and no British. You know, what grounds does he have to accuse them of corruption before the fight's even fought or even went to a scorecard? There's corruption in every territory in boxing. And if Billy doesn't like the selection of judges, he can appeal. But what grounds does he have to appeal? And before you say Golovkin versus Canelo was crooked, Billy Joe Saunders was given a UD against Artur Akovov, the Russian, in a fight I didn't think he won, in a fight that if it was held in Russia, he wouldn't have got the decision. And there wouldn't have been much complaints. Apart from his fans and a few British boxing fans, there wouldn't be much complaints. A lot of people didn't think Estrada beat Roman Gonzalez. What, crooked judging? It is what it is. If you let a fight go to the scorecards, depending on what way the politics are swinging, you could lose a fight. That's just how it is. Yeah? Then Tyson Fury, he had to get involved in it. I'm not going to go into that now because, you know, I can't be bothered. But Eddie should get rid of Billy. Even if Billy wins, he should get rid of Billy. That's what he should do. As soon as he signed him, I said, you're going to regret this. You're going to regret this. But yo, their gripe with Eddie is child's play compared to Austin Ammo Williams. Now, I don't know what the background story is behind him and Eddie. Eddie signed him to Matchroom USA, and he's had a lot to say. A lot to say and a lot to rap about. A lot of people are saying he's going through something. First of all, on Twitter, he said, I was never looking at mama's boy. I was looking at the pussy in the back who thinks it's okay to put a price on people's fucking life. He's behind us. He doesn't stand with us. Humanity. And people were asking him, you may have a point, but you're coming across as a brat bitching online. If he's done something wrong, expose him, simple. Someone else said he's the biggest and best promoter in the game, period. Someone else said, like him, don't like him, and don't agree with some of his pay-per-views, but that's the way boxing, he has a class stable of fighters. Someone else asked, what did Eddie do wrong? Someone said, bro, just keep winning fights. Once you're out of contract, come back to the table to negotiate your worth. If you don't get what you want, sign with a different promoter. Boxing is a big but small sport. Don't burn bridges that could keep you out of the ring. Your talent is projected to be worth millions. Hit me, bro. I got you. Someone else said, and just like that, you fucked up. Someone said, I'm so late. What the fuck is going on?
Hey, man, look. This one real simple. It ain't even gonna go that deep. It's kind of funny, too. But yeah. Yeah, bitch. Eddie Hearn, you's a bitch, bro. You a pussy. And you take people's life through paperwork and you think you better than somebody else, and you not. You're not at all. You just run behind that little dollar sign. Daddy, daddy, can I have some more money? You a fucking pussy, bro. You ain't never been in them streets. And it was all good because I knew the game. But the worst thing you did was disrespecting my motherfucking dog, nigga. Don't disrespect my dog. Cause God is my Airedale, nigga. You's a bitch. You's a pussy ass hoe. I slap the fuck out you and take your lunch money too. You lucky you was born with that motherfucking bread. Cause if you wasn't, I would've been busted your head. Real shit. I ain't playing with these niggas no more. Ziggy, let me tell these niggas where I'm from. I'm from 5th and Locust. 1st, 3rd and Keith. Had the motherfucker roaches brow killing me. Yeah, all them roaches was around scaring me. Yeah, I see them little buggies, I ain't know what the fuck they be. They was showing me how to survive. Them roaches, that's how I know how to stay alive. You try to stump on me, bitch, I'ma come right back in multiple numbers. Fuck you. You will never be me, nigga. You's a bitch. You'll never fight a day in your life. And I did it like twice, and I did it like 50 million times, nigga. I did it every time. I got blood on my hands cause this shit. Had to make a blood sacrifice. But guess what, nigga? Now I'm living life. Fuck you. And fuck anybody who think they better than anybody.
I can say I bled for garbage.
I don't know what Eddie does about this. Maybe they'll have words and patch it up, but if I was Eddie, I'd be very wary about having a working relationship with Ammo right now. You know what I mean? The gunshot effect at the end. Got to take that shit serious as far as I'm concerned. And, you know, looking at this picture, he looks a little unhinged. Maybe he's suffered an injury while one eye is bigger than the other, but the smile looks a little twisted. You know what I mean? Looks a little unhinged. just saying. Maybe I'm reading too much into it. But there was the sparring session last May where he was obviously frustrated because the lockdowns were in full swing. And then he was 5-0 at the time, and he brutalized someone who was clearly undermatched in the sparring session. The sparring session managed to get online. It was widely condemned. I think Billy Joe Saunders wanted to fight him, and Ammo wanted to fight Billy as well. So, who knows what happens with his career from here? Who knows? He was just coming off his biggest win against Dolan, Mama's boy, in March. That was on the Estrada Gonzalez bill. I don't know, man. Watch this space, that's all I can say. Perhaps the PBC will sign him up.
Brian Rose, Ammo Williams situation. Ammo Williams will not be fit to fight on our May card. He was going to fight Brian Rose, so we'll either reschedule that or we'll put Brian in another fight.
It looks like it's because of this Brian Rose fight that's fell apart between Ammo Williams and Brian Rose. That was supposed to be on the Devin Haney-Linares card. And Eddie's saying he's not fit to fight. Brian Rose has said that Ammo pulled out. Which one is it? Was Eddie putting a brave face on it, saying that he's not fit to fight? Has Frank Warren used his comfy relationship with the WBO? Lyndon Arthur is now installed as the #1 contender for Joe Smith's world title. Some may say the ranking is a little premature, but he is 18-0, and he is now WBO Intercontinental Champion and Commonwealth Champion. So he's got a few straps there. I don't think Callum Johnson will be too happy about that. He wanted a shot at Joe Smith. And Lyndon Arthur said he's going to have to wait. I also read that Lyndon said he would box circles around Joe Smith. So a lot of people are targeting Joe Smith, not so much Dimitri Bivol. You know what I mean? So they're looking at Joe Smith as food. Now Joe was a bit controversial against Vlasov. It was a little controversial. But they better not overlook him. Joe will pull off the upset if you overlook him. After all the excitement of last week, David Adilier getting a questionable decision against the journeyman Sokolowski, after the emphatic victory by Felix Cash, taking out Denzel Bentley in 3, a lot of people forgot that Anthony Yarde was supposed to be making his return to the ring after losing to Lyndon Arthur. His fight was postponed, but no reason was cited why it was postponed. Was he injured? Did his opponent pull out at the last minute? And when's he going to return? And is the rematch between him and Arthur going to happen? Because now they've installed Lyndon into the #1 position. When he returns, because he's had keyhole surgery on his shoulder, he's going to need a warm-up, and then he's going to take on Joe Smith. So where are you going to fit in the Yarde rematch? Where does that fit in? Either way, it looks like the 175 stable that Frank Warren has there are going to be targeting Joe Smith, the weak link, supposedly. Interesting. According to Mauricio Suleiman, at VADA Testing, has reported 2 missed attempts of testing under the clean boxing program at Michael Hunter and Jesse Jamal Hart. It is of extreme importance that all fighters report to VADA any changes of whereabouts to avoid these problems, which may lead to penalties. Hunter, he replied 15 minutes ago, "Don't play me, Suleiman. You tested this plant-based athlete 2 times already this year. Now you want to follow me this morning on Twitter to talk this dumb shit? Since we are friends now, where's the B sample? How do we get a positive test from tainted meat? What is a picogram?" Now I don't know what the picogram reference is, but he's took shots at Dillian and Canelo. Then Rob Tebbit got in the mix. He says he likes Michael Hunter a lot, which is disappointing to see him working with someone with Heredia's track record. Not for me, thanks. Michael Hunter said, noted. Rob Tebbit said, it is what it is, Mike. As a fan of the sport, first of all, I hope there is a legitimate reason for your whereabouts violation and look forward to hearing more as the story unfolds. And that's Angel Heredia for those who ain't familiar. Heredia, he used to train Juan Manuel Marquez, and a lot of people couldn't understand how Marquez got this ripped, jacked up physique in his late 30s and 40s. Heredia, he was involved in the Balco scandal around 2003, 2004. His name is toxic in track and field. There's a file in the US Anti-Doping Agency about a Jamaican track coach named Raymond Stewart. I remember Ray Stewart when he used to sprint. I remember him. Heredia moved to the US to study kinesiology, if that's how you pronounce it, at Texas A&M Kingsville. He befriended Stewart, who trained runners in the state. They were a perfect match. Stewart was looking for ways to give his runners an edge. Heredia was eager to use what he'd learned in college from his chemist father to make a splash in Olympic circles. So Heredia volunteered to help the ambitious coach get PEDs from Mexican pharmacies, drugs that would have required a prescription in the US. He also invited Stewart to his father's lab, where according to evidence later collected by USADA, Stewart had blood and urine from his athletes analyzed to make sure they would pass official testing. Over the next 5 years, Heredia became the most prolific drug dealer in track and field, a steroid savant who supplied hard-to-detect PEDs to Stewart and a dozen star athletes. He was also an expert in the contours of high-level cheating, endlessly studying the World Anti-Doping Agency's code so he could crack it. His tentacles reached so deeply into the sport that his client list grew to include Trevor Graham, a track coach with a roster of Olympic stars that included Marion Jones, Tim Montgomery, and Jerome Young, who was later stripped of his gold medal. But Heredia couldn't avoid detection by law enforcement forever. In 2002, a federal investigation into the infamous Balco lab turned up evidence that Heredia was dealing drugs to those track icons. That year, the government's lead agent, Jeff Nowitzki, tracked Heredia to a Laredo hotel and confronted him with wiretaps on which he could be heard boasting about his doping operation. Nowitzki gave Heredia a life-altering choice: do the right thing or do the time. Heredia chose the former, beginning an odyssey of government debriefings, grand jury appearances, and trials that led to Olympic bans against Marion Jones, Tim Montgomery, and their coach, Trevor Graham. In the last of his cases, Heredia testified against his old friend Ray Stewart, leading to the coach's lifetime ban in 2010. Heredia insists he's proud he took the cooperation route. People asking me, don't you feel sorry for Marion? He says, comparing the 6-month jail sentence that Jones received for lying to federal authorities with his own route to freedom, I say, look, there's no doubt I feel sorry, but she had the opportunity to help out her government and didn't. Yet he also says the feds left him feeling unappreciated for his help in showing how the doping underground worked. When I was helping the government, they took everything down, he says, lighting a cigar as he sits poolside at the Four Seasons in Las Vegas. They hugged me all the time, but they never once have given me the credit in the media. And it goes on and on and on and on and on. His entry into boxing came from friends in Mexico City. They introduced him to Jorge Arce, a former 4-division world champ who was looking for a new strength trainer. Heredia took on Arce as a client and soon after, in 2011, accompanied him to Las Vegas to watch as he shocked an MGM grand crowd with a 12th round knockout of the heavily favored Wilfredo Vasquez Jr. With that transformative win under his belt, Heredia called the powerful Mexican promoter Fernando Beltran, who was representing Juan Manuel Marquez in a third fight with Pacquiao. Marquez had battled Pacquiao to a draw in 2004 and lost their 2008 rematch by a split decision. He needed a win in their November 2011 rubber match to lift his career. Heredia told Beltran, "I'm the guy who's going to help you beat Manny." They took him on, and over 3 months, Heredia increased Marquez's weight loads and speed drills, hoping to make him strong enough to stand up against the heavy punching Pacquiao. It nearly worked. Marquez lost a majority decision, but most fans and pundits thought he had won decisively. Heredia went to his whiteboard to design an even stronger Marquez for a 4th bout, which he refuses to discuss his methods. "It is my bread and butter. Why would I give it away?" The change in Marquez was startling. By the time of the December 2012 fight, he had bulging shoulders, scaffolding a torso that looked like it was ripped off a rock wall. When Marcus unveiled that body at the weigh-in, people were aghast. Pacquiao's trainer Freddie Roach blurted to US Today, "If that body is natural, he'll kiss his ass." Now, whatever he did with Marquez is just pure speculation. Marquez wasn't busted for nothing. Have any Heredia fighters been tested positive for PEDs? It's just a case of they found the smoking gun but no body. He is very suspicious. Is Michael Hunter. KAZUTO IOKA, he tested for cannabis recently. This is surrounding a drug test after he had the big fight against Kozai Tanaka, a much anticipated fight in Japan. It looks like he's getting a strong ticking off by the Japanese Boxing Commission, and he spoke to the National Police Agency, but nothing much is going to happen. Maybe a fine, who knows. He recently had to see the Japanese Boxing Commission again because he's got visible tattoos, and that's frowned upon over there. They say that tattoos or other markings that make the audience feel uncomfortable shall not be permitted to compete in a boxing event. It's a different culture out there. Pay-per-view is dependent on how you connect with the card and the fighters. Sometimes it's dependent on what region of the world you're in. I may pay for this card. Chisora versus Parker, I think that's a good contest. I get to see Dimitri Bivol against Craig Richards. Craig is pretty durable. Could perhaps make it awkward for Dimitri. I want to see how Dimitri goes about this title defense. This is for the WBA Super World Light Heavyweight title. Then we got James Tennyson against Giovanni Straffon. Sounds Italian. That's for the vacant IBO World Lightweight title. Now, the IBO, AJ holds one of them. Eubank has held one of them. Eubank Jr., that is. I think it has more legitimacy if you have it like Lennox Lewis had it, like Vlad had it, like AJ had it. You need at least 2 or 3 more straps with it. But if you just got it by itself, then it's not really much of a prize, I guess. Tennyson, all jokes aside, is a very good puncher at domestic, fringe, European level, and exciting to watch. He wants a shot at Devin Haney. He probably doesn't do any better than he did against Tevin Farmer against Haney. But if he can get another knockout here, the dream is still alive, you know? Unification, IBO belt versus WBC. Then you have Katie Taylor versus Natasha Jonas. That's a really good fight. That's for the undisputed lightweight title, women's division. Chris Eubank Jr. returns to the ring against Marcus Morrison. Eubank has a record of 29 wins, 2 losses. Marcus Morrison, 23 wins, 3 losses, at a lower level than what Eubank has fought for the most part. He's lost to the likes of Alistair Warren, who had a terrible record. That was in 2018. Tyan Booth, he beat him over 4 rounds in 2017. Jason Welburn, he also took his unbeaten record, I believe. Eubank should be winning these fights relatively easy. He's been trained by Roy Jones throughout the pandemic. What's he learnt there? We shall soon see. His last fight was against Matt Koroboff. That was in the Barclays Center, Brooklyn, December 2019. And that went a couple of rounds before old boy Koroboff's body started breaking down, which I did predict that his body would break down on him. He was outboxing Eubank, though, from that southpaw stance. And his other fight before that was the 12-round points win over James DeGale, who retired James DeGale. That was in February 2019. Since the George Groves fight in February 2018, over 3 years ago, he hasn't had that much rounds. 17 rounds since then, 3 fights, 3 fights in 3 years. Very inactive. Very inactive. The inactivity, a lot of people say, yes, it makes you physically rusty. That, you know, you can't get the muscle memory together. But from an outside observer, I think the inactivity drains the ambition of a lot of fighters. And that affects the boxer just as much as the physical effect of not being active. And they perhaps try and tell themselves that they're really up for it. But fighting is a strange occupation that you can't be effective at unless you love doing it. Unless you're Sugar Ray Robinson, that is. It's not a fight I see Eubank losing, but don't be surprised if Eubank doesn't look good, especially in the early rounds. Amateur ambition is there. He's got a whole load of money. He's young. That little spell at the PBC is what's kept him out of the ring. He's just signed with the Saulanders Wasserman Group. Hopefully that's put a new lease of life into his career. And hopefully he wants to be active, get a few wins going, and then try and take one of them big scalps. Golovkin, Charlo. He hasn't mentioned Andrade though. Make of that what you will. Some people will say he wants Golovkin because Golovkin is old now and perhaps there for the taking. But the other side of the argument is Golovkin is a bigger name, a bigger scalp than Charlo and Andrade. Depends what side of the fence you want to jump on that debate there. Andrade would outbox Chris relatively easy. And I'm a fan of Eubank, but it's got to keep it real. One common opponent between Morrison and Eubank, Alistair Warren. Eubank stopped him in the 3rd round early in his career, and Alistair Warren actually beat Marcus Morrison on points. So Ricky Hatton's son, Campbell Hatton, he returns to the ring. He debuted on the Anthony Joshua card late last year, and you know, we could start with, he looks a little too small to be a lightweight. It's unfair to compare him to his dad. Doesn't look like he's got his dad's natural talent. And we'll have to see how far his decision to be a boxer will go and take it from there. Now, Scott Fitzgerald has been inactive since October 2019, a long time. He returns to the ring against a to-be-announced. Does he still have that British title at 154? He's 14-0, 9 stoppages. Is he still the top boy at 154 in the UK? He beat Anthony Fowler and he beat Ted Cheeseman. How is he going to look on his comeback on Saturday? We know about the problems he had during the lockdown. That was widely reported, and it wasn't the most dignified moment of his career. Ended up in trouble with the police and a lot of other stuff, which I'm not going to rake up now. Hopefully he can get back to it and do what he does best. That's fight. The main event is a 50-50. I think I picked Joseph Parker on points. If it was before Chisora fought Usyk, I would have picked Chisora. It's a 50-50, tough one to pick. I'm just going to enjoy the fight. If it does go to points, will Parker get a decision over here? What will the Andy Lee effect be on Parker, and what will the Buddy McGirt effect be on Chisora?